white pickup seems to have hit that bridge. There was law enforcement on scene. They were clearing up the situation, but it is slushy.
Tyler made laws. He was a state senator. Ask him one of these goofy laws.
All right. Well, the one I asked as a teaser, in Nebraska, you can see it, Tyler, a man is not allowed to run around with this. And no offense to you, because this would really take you. Did you see the other side, Joe?
I saw the other side.
I haven't looked.
That'd be so good. I told her not to look at the answers on the other side.
It would affect Tyler?
Well, no, it wouldn't affect Tyler. He's good.
This would be.
I was curious where your mind
would
was
it affect
going.
me?
This would be something you literally would have to do with the type of person you are every day to avoid it.
Oh, it would affect me.
A man in Nebraska
Is it a razor?
is not allowed to run around with a shaved chest. That's a law. That's a crazy law.
So you'd be covered.
Yeah, I'd be good.
I'd be
all right.
you can shave it an hour later. You're not going to catch me.
So
Thanks for coming in, Tyler.
Glad I did.
So when
Damn glad to be
you're
here.
making laws, you people still you actually think about this stuff?
There's usually one person that has a specific situation that comes, well, you do this, and sometimes you get caught off guard
And
by how
then
many
that
people
has
vote
to be
for it.
ratified by what, 2/3 of the majority?
I voted on the riveting square dance being the state dance. That was my first year in the legislature. Hey, all right.
Hey, right to the crapola. Hello, Mogi.
Lean to your left, lean to your right.
Oh, my gosh.
And Views Radio Network. Joel Heitkamp here, your host. Abby Miller, your producer. We've been trying hard to get on as many candidates as we can. In fact, if you are running, feel free to contact Abby because we're probably not going to get you all on, but we sure would like to get a chance to visit with the individuals that are running for the Fargo City Commission. Ahmad Sheel is one of those. Ahmad, good to have you on News and Views.
Thank you. Thank you for having me today.
How you been?
It's snowing outside, so I don't know how I feel today.
That's fair. A lot of people are probably wondering, about you. Could you tell folks about yourself a little bit?
Yeah, definitely. I work at a local nonprofit. I've been really active and engaged in the community. Really, for the last 4 years or so, I've really been active in the community, looking at barriers and how government, how city, how businesses collaborate together. And that's one of the things that actually led me to run for office and seeing how challenges are looked upon in our community. So, so being here 4 years, originally from Bismarck. Lived in Bismarck prior to coming here.
Okay.
So originally from the Twin Cities, I grew up there. My wife and 3 kids, we live in Fargo, and it's been a lovely community.
Well, you chose wisely, getting out of the Twin Cities and coming here.
Tell me.
Can I just tell you that? So you first off, compliments. I mean, to put your name on a ballot, been there, done that. It's an exposure thing.
Yeah.
I mean, to do that takes courage, and so I really appreciate the fact that you're willing to do that. Go ahead.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that thought. It is something that I never thought of until I really became active in the community and engaging with people, with the residents, and realizing the barriers that the community has, the workforce challenges, the child care challenges that families like myself with kids have. So it wasn't an easy choice for me just to say, you know what, I need to really step up and take actions so that more impact can be made. And
so what happens if you get the job? If they hire you, they go in there and they vote for you, and now you've got the job. What are the 2 things? I like to do this. 2 things that you're going to focus on right away.
2 things that I will actually focus on, it's workforce development. Since the pandemic, that's been something that really hurt a lot of families. Really working with businesses and bringing people together, bringing people to the table, to understanding what the challenges are, so that people can get back to jobs and have higher paying jobs to support their families. Childcare, that's another thing that I will really focus on from the beginning. How can we make it more accessible?
Do the 2 go together? Does development of that workforce go together with childcare?
Yes, it goes hand in hand. It
I
goes
agree with
hand
you.
in hand.
Yep. Because without one, you can't really have the other.
Exactly.
Yep.
Yeah.
So what are we doing wrong? I mean, when you take a step back and you say, okay, and this isn't a softball so that you can criticize it. I know that you're not the kind of person that would want to do that. What I'm asking though is, in order to fix something, you have to acknowledge that something's wrong.
Right.
What are we doing wrong?
We're not taking actions. We're not really looking into really investing and in having more strategies on how to solve the issues. I'll tell you an example. When I first started working in the community with a local nonprofit, one of the challenges that I saw was transportation barriers for families that needed jobs in certain area in the industrial park. 30 years, there hasn't been any bus services in there. So, and when I went out and talked to people and businesses and community change makers and to the city government, talked to the metro area bus, I was told 30 years there hasn't been a bus service here, so there's no point. Well, that's not an answer. You need to find a solution. And working probably 9 months into it, we came with an innovative solution to actually have more access into that area. And 3 years later, there's bus service there, which is an on-demand tab ride service there. And thousands of people have got jobs over there. Up to date, I saw the results of their 15,000 riderships in that area. So
And if you went to a number of those businesses, my suspicion is
they're happy.
they're looking for more workers.
Yes, they're looking for more workers, and they couldn't get workers prior to this bus service that was implemented.
See, this one's pretty simple.
Yeah.
I mean, this one is like, okay, why not?
But see, the key was bringing people together, bringing the right people to the table to have those conversations, to remove the barriers.
So when you look at Fargo and you look at some of the systemic problems that you say, okay, here's something that we just seem to ignore. What do you see?
With every community, there's always challenges. But what works in a community is when people come together. When people come together and realize that there's a community issue. When people come together and realize that we can solve together by working together. That's something that I really enjoy seeing from my work aspect as a small business owner working at a local nonprofit. I see that in the community when people are so energetic and wanting to help. So we don't see that widely because it's not out there, but people love Fargo. People want together.
Ahmad Shil is our guest. He's running for the Fargo City Commission. Ahmad, when you decided to make this run, it's always interesting to me who got around you and said, Ahmad, because that tells me how impressed they were of you. I mean, you've got an inner circle. You've got a group of people other than your family who I have no doubt support you. But somebody twisted your arm and said, "I'd throw your hat in the ring on this." Who's your circle of friends or group?
It's great people of Fargo. Because of my engagement in the community, I work with a lot of people. So numerous people were happy to see that I'm throwing my name in there. I'll tell you, my biggest supporter is my 3-year-old son.
Good for you. Well, I hope she's listening. If not, we'll send her a recording.
Yeah,
How's
definitely.
That? Okay, so if people want to know more about your race, I mean, do you have a website they can go to?
Yes, my website is Ahmed for Fargo. That's AHMED for FOR Fargo.com. You can learn more about my platform and what I'm passionate about, and go on there and engage with my website and my Facebook, which is also Ahmed for Fargo. Just go there, support, exercise your right, vote, and I encourage the community to come out and vote and campaign and really make this a successful race.
I wasn't just blowing smoke when I said how much I respect individuals like yourself that put their name on the ballot. I really do. Good luck in your race. Just remember, I give this advice to any candidate. It's the little dogs that bite. When you're knocking on doors, be careful of the little ones because those are the heel biters. So just so you know.
Yes.
All right. Thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you so much.
When we come back, ladies and gentlemen, I mean, Bones, you live that life. You're out on the road with this.
That's it. I was chatting with my friend Scotty Quass, who does the play-by-play for Tylee there in Brookings, and I asked him. I had Scotty on yesterday in my show, Jack Michael Show, weekdays at noon on 740 The Fan. Thanks for the
When
plug,
is it?
Joel. Jack Michael Show, weekdays at noon on 740 The Fan.
Amy and JJ just killed me.
Fifth largest daytime. Why would they? Then you need to fire them because that's good cross promotion
That's good
right
cross
there.
promotion.
I'm
I'm going by the old Jack Sunday.
No, but I asked Scotty, the play-by-play guy, has done all of Tylee's games in college. And, what has she meant to the program? And you'd think that he would talk about, Tylee's scoring average, rebounds, assists, games.
Yeah.
He mentioned the games played, but outside of that, it says 4 times better the person.
Yeah.
And she's a tremendous basketball player.
I don't know her. I wish I did. I know her. I know her family. I know Troy, and I know. Well, her mother's been to our house so many times.
Right.
She's helped Sue to spend money like crazy, and and very well. But
I know Tylee and her siblings.
so her
from
nickname is
Washington.
Cookies.
I think that sounds right.
Okay.
Tylee is she's taken down she's taken down NDSU over the years. She's taken down UND over the years with that
So does
patented
North
drive in
Dakota
hand.
have any crazy laws?
They do have crazy laws. 7 points each for correct answers.
Abby, are you in?
Yeah.
7 points each.
Ahmad's still in. He can play
because you
along.
have the troopers in. I didn't want you to have to quiz them because
Yeah.
then if they get it wrong, we can come back and get you for
Nothing
doing.
is worse than a mad trooper.
That's exactly right. I had you doing 76. Well, the speed limit's 75. I had you doing 76.
I think you're doing 76.
In North Dakota, it is illegal to lie down and fall asleep with these on.
Socks.
Joel?
Spurs.
Boy, who's closer? It's shoes.
Oh, definitely me. Shoes are outside socks and Spurs are outside that.
In
so.
Fargo, North Dakota, you may be jailed if you're wearing this while dancing.
Ooh.
I've got this. Ahmad, you got it? You want to be a Fargo
I think
City
he's
commissioner. What would you guess? Don't be cheating. Looking at Jack's answers.
I remember
or
the
wearing
first
this at a
one.
function
I've
where
got it.
dancing is taking place.
You ready? I'll just give you the answer.
Do you know it?
Yep. Nothing.
Yikes.
It ain't California.
You'll get jailed for that, Ab.
You could get jailed. Well, technically speaking, the correct answer would be hat.
A hat
I'm glad
while
you knew that.
dancing? Tell a cowboy that.
In North Dakota, beer and this cannot be served together in any bar or restaurant.
This
Beer and this. Ahmed
one is interesting.
Ahmed knows this answer because his eyes just went, "Pff, what? Beer and this cannot be served together at any bar or restaurant. North Dakota.
Beer and this.
Crazy law.
Spaghetti.
Beer and spaghetti. Wow.
That doesn't sound good.
Exactly. Usually you have wine with spaghetti.
If you're having that at noon, that sounds like a long evening. Beer and this.
I'm assuming it's a food because it's a
It is a
restaurant.
food.
Now you've got a liquid.
But it can't be like olives or peanuts or those all go with it.
No. What Ahmad,
I
you got a
almost had
guess or
it.
not?
She almost had it.
Oh, really?
Almonds. Pistachios.
Keep going.
Starts with a P.
Peanuts.
Peanuts?
Nope.
No way. Popcorn.
Nope.
Oh my gosh, I hope not.
In North Dakota, beer
Pizza.
and this cannot be served together at any bar or restaurant.
You can make it twisted and all.
Pretzels.
Beer and pretzels
Really?
cannot be served at any bar or
Why
restaurant.
would that? What
I
year
hope
did
they've
that?
amended that law
There's no way
somehow.
that's still followed.
If you're listening, legislators, fix
Each
that.
correct answer were 7 points. Minnesota crazy laws.
Ooh.
Ahmed was a former Minnesota. Now he's a resident in Fargo. Minnesotans can't enter Wisconsin with this animal on their head.
Badger.
Oh,
Badger?
a raccoon.
Chicken. Blank.
Somebody was driving around with a chicken on their head.
Wisconsin crazy law. State law made it illegal to serve apple pie in public restaurants without this.
Whipped
Ice cream.
Oh,
No.
wasn't ice cream or whipped cream?
Nope.
A fork.
It's illegal
Milk.
to serve apple pie in public restaurants in Wisconsin without this.
Think of Wisconsin.
Cheese.
That's exactly right.
Oh,
See how
my
good
gosh.
Ahmed's on it right here.
Really?
Yeah, he's doing
I
the
don't know
left
if I'd
shoulder
want
look.
those.
And the last one worth
Yeah, I got you, Ahmed.
11,000 points. Nebraska, crazy law. These people aren't allowed to eat onions between 7A and 7P. They know the answer.
Yep.
Wait, does Ahmed not?
I don't know if Ahmed.
Someone who's very close to your face.
I'll show you the question.
Or
These
your
people aren't
hair.
allowed to eat onions
I
between
guessed
7
You
a.m.
have,
Dentist, and I
you
was
have
wrong.
5 seconds.
5? Okay, it rhymes with barber.
The troopers right after this. that robin in my front yard.
Oh,
It's starting to sit there and go, what did I do? I look at where I was, look where I am now. What was I thinking? Because you know what? It is crapola out there. It really is. Take some time. Take some time on the roadways. I can tell you there's some people that didn't. I saw them in the median, on the way up, in the ditches. And this is a tough time of year to hit the ditch, too, ladies and gentlemen, because it's the time of year where the part of the ditch you hit, you could open up the door and water could run in the car. So let's keep that in mind as well. In fact, some people that probably have some experience visiting people who did that are in the house with us. We've got Sergeant Jesse Grabo from the Minnesota State Patrol. Sarge, good to see you.
Good morning. It's good to be here.
And we've got the captain in the house, Captain Brian Niewind, as well, with the North Dakota Highway Patrol. Captain?
Good morning. Thanks for having us on.
It just got to prove that we're not the boss, doesn't it? I mean, the weather conditions out there. I mean, on the North Dakota side, what are you seeing so far?
Lots of slush. So the biggest deal I think today is when people are driving, it's going to be that slush out there. So like you were talking about, it's those passing lanes, a lot of times are going to have that slush in them because a lot of traffic drives in that driving lane. So just be aware of that slush. That slush will suck in, and you can't steer, you can't brake in that slush, and it's going to take you into the ditch or the median. So.
I would argue that this is the slush in the passing lane is almost, Sergeant, more dangerous than ice.
It can be because you just don't know which direction you're heading. I mean, you're usually on ice, you're going straight, and as long as you're maintaining that safe speed, you're going to be okay. We say maintain that safe speed with slush, but still, there's sometimes it just catches the wheels, and you don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah. What are you hearing from reports out there? You must have some rigs in the ditch. I saw some.
We do. We got one just a mile into Moorhead here and all the way down I-94. Alexander got some jackknife semis, but even down towards Sauk Center, St. Cloud, Becker, that area too. So.
How about on the North Dakota side?
We've had a few spin-offs, a couple crashes this morning, but nothing real major. No jackknife semis. So
Nobody getting hurt?
Nobody getting hurt.
Okay.
So it's been a pretty slow morning. So
I was actually surprised, you guys, when I, driving up, that I only saw one semi, on the on-ramp, that pulled off and said, all right, I'm going to settle down till the snowplows get out there and give me a chance to get this thing cleared up. But I will say this for you drivers out there, if you're in the lane that's cleared off, just know that if you're intimidated by it, you probably shouldn't be out in it. And I'm not sitting here advocating in slushy, icy conditions for people driving faster. But if you're out there, Captain, this happens. If somebody chooses to drive 25 miles an hour and then in the passing lane it's solid slush like that, next thing you know, you've got the District B basketball tournament behind you. I mean, there's a lot of cars behind you.
Yeah, that can happen, and we do not have a minimum speed limit on our interstate system in North Dakota, so people can drive 25 miles per hour on the interstate. But, we always say anytime during the winter, plan ahead, right? So if you know what the road conditions are, you know what the weather conditions are, and you don't feel comfortable driving that, give it a few hours because DOT will get out there and will make the conditions better.
And you must see that on the Minnesota side. You Sergeant Grabo, you've been up to so many cars. You can see people, I would guess, that are intimidated by their conditions.
Oh, certainly. I mean, I've had people just say, can you call me a tow? I mean, they're still on the roadway, but they're just so scared of driving, they've got to that point too. So it's just, be aware before you go. No, listen to the local forecast, the road conditions, the 511 apps, all those types of things.
It's interesting, you guys, in the fact, and by the way, I'll share the time. Laney's News and Views studio line is 1-800-880-5346. But, we were just going into construction season. I mean, obviously this isn't going to last long.
Right.
It'll go away fast. But it's interesting to me that some of the boys were out literally filling some potholes that I saw, and now they're moving snow.
Yeah, they were. I mean, it's spring is one of the most unpredictable seasons because for us here in this region, you never know what you're going to get. 70 degrees in sunshine or snow, 6 inches of snow and slush the next day. So
in the wintertime, Captain Ewan, when my dad was working road construction, he used to help out the county. And my dad's been gone since '82, so I don't think he'll get in trouble with the IRS for this. But he used to work jobs, still get unemployment, and so he made a couple extra bucks riding the wing for the county. Right when they had to put the plows back on and the wings on, those type of things, that was hours and hours of work. Now I'm sure the guys just go in, click, gone. You're back out to snow now.
I think they're a lot simpler to put on, but it's not just like, hey, 15 minutes, we're going to have a wing and a plow and everything back on these trucks. Because, they set these things up all summer long to get ready for the winter. And, I think most of them probably still have a lot of that equipment still on there, because I was just listening to some news reports, like almost 85% of the springs, there's snow in April. So it's, they need to have that equipment still installed, I think, into April.
Well, when we asked you guys to come in and we did this, it wasn't based upon the fact that we were going to be talking about winter driving conditions. And again, I think that is going to go away. But one of the questions I have for you is, we're weeks away from big, heavy farm equipment taking to the roads and people having to pay attention for it, Sergeant Grable.
Oh, certainly. It's, they're getting ready. I mean, that's just it. They're itching to, get in the fields and share the roadways. So the rest of us got to pay attention. It's all these life lessons that you're going to encounter each and every day. You never know what you're going to encounter. So just be ready for anything.
Captain, it is seasonal. I mean, it really is. It is seasonal. You can see some of the truckers out there saying, okay, now it's safe to haul this. When you drive as much as I do, of course, we're going into planting season, those type of things. But, your job as Minnesota State Patrol, North Dakota Highway Patrol, your jobs change immensely just in a couple weeks.
Yeah, every season brings a different challenge. Our summer months, we have more traffic. Our fall, our spring has all the agricultural equipment out there on the roadways. Our winters bring, obviously, the weather that we have. So, we're up to those challenges. We adjust our tactics. We adjust our schedules. We adjust the type of enforcement that we're doing out there depending on the conditions and or whatever's going on in our areas.
So let's take, and by the way, iConsultants of North Dakota, if you want to text a question to these troopers, go ahead and do it. That's 35270, or if you want to call in and talk to them, it's pretty simple. You dial 1-800-880-5346 on our Laney's News and Views studio line. Question comes in by text. How come law enforcement doesn't ticket and enforce the license plate issue, which is that you have to have two plates?
That is a regular stop that our troopers will make. I can't speak for other law enforcement agencies, but we do see that, and we will make traffic stops for that. It actually is. It's a $20 citation in North Dakota, but there's 1 point assessed to your driver's license for that violation in North Dakota as well.
How about on the Minnesota side?
Minnesota, it's something that the Minnesota State Patrol also provides enforcement action on also. So, yeah.
What do you do? I mean, you guys have, whether it's in the manual or my guess is you pretty much know the states that don't require two license plates. What do you do if you pull over a vehicle and it only has one license plate, but it's from that state?
Right. Well, I guess speaking from the Minnesota side, we just enforce the Minnesota violations on that. I mean, with that being said, also you get behind, you meet that vehicle that doesn't have a front license plate, you catch up behind them, then you see it's like, oh, it's from Florida. Well, Florida only requires one plate, for example. And you just be like, okay, well, that's what it is. So you kind of know. I mean, well, back in the days we used to carry the AAA Digest book. I mean, this thick book along. Now
they both smile and laugh.
Now everything's on your computer on an app, so it's like, and then enough time and experience and training.
You guys aren't exactly old, but you knew right away, Captain, what the AAA guidance book was, right?
Yeah, I mean, all the manuals that we used to carry in our trunks, of our patrol vehicles, whether it's our policy manual, the AAA manual, driver's license manuals, all kinds of. Now it's all a click of a button on your computer.
Question comes in, is it proper for the highway patrol to drive through the center ditch in a non-emergency situation without their emergency lights on just to enter the weight scale? The next exit was only a half mile down the road. I thought the highway patrol was just another driver coming through the ditch and was going to hit me. I don't know what weigh scale it is, but the question's for both of you, Captain or Sergeant.
Yeah, well, ours, yes, you can. Our weigh stations don't go through the medians and whatnot, so it's going to be a right exit only. But yeah, if using crossovers and things like that, we can. I generally try to give, especially if vehicles are behind me, try to give like some amber emergency warning lights or an arrow stick or something like that.
I'd reiterate what Sergeant Grable just said: is anytime we're going to cross a median, we should have our lights on, whether that's to the rear end or to the front. We can cross the median for enforcement activity and then also for emergencies. If we don't have those two things going on, we'll be using the exits or we'll be using a crossover.
Question comes in and says, do you find it, Captain, you ready? Dangerous ground here. The ice is getting thin out on the lake. I know you like to ice fish too. Do you find it a waste of time pulling someone over in North Dakota based on the costs of the tickets?
No, I mean, our job is to make sure that we have a safe traveling environment for all motorists, whether that's residents or non-residents. So we're out there taking enforcement action. A lot of times, we can get compliance through a citation. We can get compliance through a warning. The thing is, we're not always just looking for that violation, right? So Our job is to remove impaired drivers from the roadway. Our job is to remove the criminal element from our roadways. So that takes us making traffic stops for these violations that are $20 citations. So we're out there each and every day making a lot of traffic stops to make our roadways safe and to make our community safe.
I think they make a point. They do make a point saying that North Dakota's fines in relation to other states. But, the other thing, guys, that I wanted to talk to you about, I know this was City of Fargo, but a lot of different law enforcement. You end up with a murderer in Fargo that's on the run from Minneapolis. I think at times people forget how quickly you can be in harm's way. But I've got to get people, believe me, they want to know what's going on in the weather. Let's go find Mr. Too Tall Tom Szymanski. Tom? I said that calls come first, and they do. 1-800-880-5346. Jim, you are on with the Troopers. It's Trooper Talk today on News and Views. Go ahead, Jim. Well, you blew your chance. Let's get to John. John, you're on News and Views.
Okay, hey, I had a question the other day. Last Thursday, I was coming home from the cities. Then I was by Alexandria, and a trooper was going westbound. Eastbound. We were heading westbound, and decided to take it. It had turned around, and we've seen it hit brakes and turn around. So we knew he was coming, but he ends up flying by us, doing about 75, and he flew by us. He had to be doing close to 100 miles an hour without his lights on. And then he came up on a semi that was in front of us that was in the left lane, and the semi just seen him at the last minute and tried to move to the right, but the trooper was already at the right side because he took the next exit. And then when he pulled up on the exit, he pulled behind a car and had no lights on. So is there a rule for how fast the trooper's going when he should have his lights on the highway? Because he almost caused a major accident. And if he was in such of a hurry, the car he pulled behind on the exit, you would have thought he would have put on his lights and got the car to move over so he could get around him.
Okay.
So if there isn't a policy, there should be, because he might have known what he is doing, but we have no idea what he was doing. And he almost caused major accident with people that had nothing to do with anything that was going on.
Okay. Thanks, John. Thanks for the call. Sergeant Grable?
Yeah, good question. Thanks for the call. Like I said, I'm not aware of the situation, and it's a good thing you were so attentive yourself there, caller. I mean, seeing everything that's going on, and that's important for everybody to do. Is number one is being aware of surroundings, because sometimes the dynamics of what we have to respond to change so quickly. I mean, is there an actual policy as far as the speeds we drive it with or without lights? I mean, not necessarily, but still everything comes down to that the trooper must use due care. I mean, that's everybody in the motor public, but even
so
law
the trooper should have his lights on.
Not necessarily. It depends what they're dealing with. Sometimes you may not want lights and sirens depending on a call you might be going up to. I don't know, but it sounds like maybe after the situation they could have had.
When
lights
is
on.
it an advantage not to have your lights on?
It depends what you're looking for. A suspect or something like that, maybe involved with some major criminal activity right now, and you don't want to give it away that, hey, there's lights and sirens coming, because they're like this caller, they're paying attention too. So we maybe just it's hard to say. But
now we're off and running. You're saying
right. So most of the time, we are going to try to use emergency lights. I guess I can't speak for that circumstance, but
North Dakota response to that?
In North Dakota, as Class A emergency vehicles, we can travel above the speed limit. We can break the traffic laws, but we do have to use due care. If we do cause one of those collisions, we're going to be looking to see if we're at fault. But there are certain circumstances where we would not have our lights on. Number one, we want to pick the location where we want to make a traffic stop. So if I'm trying to catch up to somebody, I want to put my lights on when I want to stop that person. Second thing is, like Sergeant Grable says, we're looking for a suspect for some sort of violation. We don't want to notify them, a mile before we catch up to them that we're catching up to them. It might be a reckless driver call where we have to look for a violation before we can stop that car. So as I'm catching up to that, I don't want to have my lights on because that car is going to pull over. Now I don't have a reason to stop it. Now I have no reasonable suspicion. Now I can't further that traffic stop. So there's different reasons why we would not do that. And it might be a case if somebody's pulled off on an exit ramp. Again, if we're going to have what's called a community caretaker function where I'm going to walk up in that car, I can't have my lights on because I can't keep that person detained if they've stopped on their own.
Okay.
Another thing, too, we're dealing with so much mental illness out there with folks with emotional crises, things like that. Sometimes lights and sirens will agitate depending on the situation, what the call may be, if they're thinking about harming themselves or somebody else. It's there's so many different things that go on. It's never just this is a textbook. Yeah. This is the way it always is. It's
I can see
sense.
What John's getting
but
at.
Yeah,
though.
it's a good question. And like I say,
the scenario he laid out was somebody said, I just saw you ready for this one, boys? Okay. I just saw an SUV in the ditch along I-94 in Moorhead that was driving aggressive and tailgated me last week. I guess that would be called karma. What do you think's getting discussed around his or her coffee pot today? Right? I mean, it's always something. Another one. I'm a CDL Class A driver. Thank you for what you do and keeping the roads safe. I think that is fair to point out. Most guys out there and gals that are making a living over the road trucking, they really appreciate the patrol. They do.
Yeah, I think we have a good working relationship with most of the industry. Obviously, there's always individuals out there that don't appreciate what we're doing, but for the most part, we have great working relationships with our industry.
Certainly do.
All right. There you go. I think he got said just what he wanted to get said. When we come back, your time on the phone lines, 1-800-880-5346. Here it's Trooper Talk on the Mighty 790 KFGO and Keys Radio 660. You can be part of it. All you got to do is dial 1-800-880-5346. Let's get to the phone lines. Jim, you are on with the Troopers. Go ahead, Jim.
Yeah, hi. See, my question is this, I take the I-29, I-94 corridor all the time, and I'm always seeing, I leisurely here early in the morning, and I always see some little car or truck pulled over, for whatever, probably for speeding. But, I'll go through there all the time, and some eyes will be running through that corridor at 70 miles an hour, and I've yet to see one ever pulled over. It's like you always go after the little guys, but these trucks seem to have, for some reason, get a pass to just blast through that area among all the traffic and the potential damage they could cause if they got in an accident.
Okay, thanks, Jim. Captain?
You know what? I guess semis, for the most part, are not speeding. I mean, we do have trucks out there that are speeding. We will make traffic stops on those. I would say about 8 to 10% of our traffic stops in North Dakota involve a commercial motor vehicle. Statewide. So that's, not just in the Fargo area, but that's statewide. So we are stopping quite a few trucks every year. So I guess I don't really know how to answer that question, because when we see violations and we can safely stop them, our troopers are doing that. And certain times of day, it's not safe to stop certain motorists.
Yeah. Your thoughts, Sarge?
Yeah, same thing. I mean, when we're seeing them, we're stopping them, and it's not the majority of what we're seeing, because most of those, they're regulated too, they're governed and whatnot. But the other thing too is those folks know if they get a speeding ticket on their record, it's making work a lot harder for them. So
I average 60,000 miles a year. I mean, that's a lot of miles. Up and down this Red River Valley, other places I go with the motorhome out there. The trucks aren't passing the cars. The cars are passing the trucks, and especially when diesel fuel's 4.5 right now. I don't know any trucking company in the world that's putting the hammer to it. So it might be in a circumstance of two interstates coming together there. But I just
and if you're traveling through the area at the same time every day, what are you going to see, right? And I mean, you're going to see probably more passenger vehicles if you're traveling certain times of the day, and there's probably semis at certain times of the day where they're getting stopped. So
not only that, but semis have their own regulation itself. I mean, you got the truck regulatory out there, so there's other groups even looking for them more. So that one doesn't sell with me. Larry, you're on News and Views. Go ahead, Larry.
I got a question for the troopers. I've always been told that the right lane is for driving and the left lane is for passing. But yet I'm out here in western North Dakota, where I've seen a couple times in the last month where a trooper is driving in the left lane at 55, 60 miles an hour, causing a backup because nobody else wants to pass him on the right side of the lane. Just wondering, what's the procedure? Do I report it to the supervisor, or is that legal for a highway patrolman to be driving at a slow rate of speed in the passing lane?
So in North Dakota, we do not have a minimum speed limit on the interstate system. In addition, we do not have a requirement that you have to drive in the left lane or the right lane. You can drive in either lane on our 4-lane or more highways in North Dakota. Normally, we teach our troopers, if they're going to be driving less than the speed limit, to stay in that right lane. There are times we will travel in that left lane when we're looking, let's say, for another vehicle coming the opposite way. We have a call for service we're looking for, so we can easily get across that median. But normally we should be traveling in that right lane, especially if we're going less than the speed limit. So, I mean, you can call, we can check into it, but there really is no legal requirement that says that we have to travel one lane or the other.
Thank you, Larry. Appreciate the call. Let's get to Sean. Sharon, you're on with the troopers. Go ahead.
Hi, good morning. I just had a question for you, I guess more so on the Minnesota side, not that it matters where, but kind of east of Ferguson, that problematic area. One day last winter, that was a bad day, just like kind of today or worse. There was a car, as I kind of came to the situation, I was slowing down. I'm in a semi that's empty, so I was going to what I figured was a reasonable safe speed, but still knowing I definitely couldn't stop on the Diamond Ice as I was empty. But there was a car being extracted from the ditch with a wrecker. I don't know if it makes sense to start stopping traffic before you pull the car out. But what had happened was the trooper had actually aggressively pulled in front of me, clearly wanting me to stop. I'm worried about if I've got enough room to stop. I'm actually pulling over on the shoulder to buy myself some more room. And he kept going, again, wanting me to, I guess, aggressively get stopped. I'm at a point where I just wanted to save not swapping paint or denting. There was enough room before I was actually anywhere close to where that wrecker was, although I could see it. And just kind of curious of the procedure with that. That was just, to me, it seemed like just a little bit I understand I needed to get stopped, and he wanted to be stopped, but it was asking for more trouble than what needed to be asked for.
Okay. Thank you, Sean. Your thoughts?
Yeah, we always hope and train our troopers to, make good choices, decisions as far as their maneuvers and why they're doing what they're doing as far as, trying to get traffic to slow down, stop, move over where it may be. So it sounded like there was a lot going on there. So
Actually, when people call in with these incidents, they're so not the norm. I get it. I understand it. But that can't be a bad thing either. I mean, what you guys talk to each other and you say, hey, I heard this on air, and maybe you bounce it by, and maybe the call we just got, ends up saying, okay, I did that, or I shouldn't have done that, or, I think he missed it. I don't know, but at least it creates conversation.
Yeah, we get calls from the public all the time where we can go back and look. We have videos of all of our traffic stops when we're out there on a traffic stop. If it's not a traffic stop, we can visit with the troopers, and there's things that we can change our tactics. We can talk to our people about, hey, this is something the public's seeing, and let's change our we've never been taught to do this, so just change your tactics.
Good.
Yeah,
go ahead.
Same thing. I mean, with all our different body cam footage or dash cam footage, we use that for training. I mean, because we know we're not always going to be perfect. So it's like, hey, what can we do better to serve people?
Let's get to Andy. You're on News and Views.
Hi, good morning. This is a question mostly for the Minnesota side, Sergeant Grabo. Occasionally, I'm a Class A truck driver. I drive locally, go home at night. Occasionally, we'll see trucks approaching the Red River Valley scale there. And just as you go under 34th Street, it's pretty quick. You can see the yellow lights flashing whether the scale is open or not. I have seen trucks just jam on their brakes and take 34th Street to avoid that scale. Is there, and people drive around scales, is that enough like probable cause to pull somebody over? And because every once in a while you'll see a police state trooper on the top of the bridge there looking for that. But I think that's a big problem. I look like a Boy Scout on paper. I don't have weight tickets. I don't carry heavy things, but I know that occurs.
Okay.
You're correct. It does occur, and we do address it. Like you say, we do stop them and get them when we can, and we do get those scale dodgers.
So do you guys coordinate at all because your roads that you patrol for the most part can handle weight better than other roads. But does the county sheriff and the county deputies work with you guys to say, hey, these guys came off, I got trouble, my roads are going to crap, I got, frost is about to come out, for example, so load restrictions are going to go out. I know that in some counties they've bought, equipment to basically have in the trunk so that they can mobile weigh people, to get after it. I mean, how big of a deterrent is it for people to know that they're going to get weighed? And I'll start with you, Sergeant.
I think it is. A lot of times the counties or the locals, they'll reach out to us and they say, hey, can you give us a hand here? We got a problem or something like that. And we can address it, or they'll call us up if there's an incident and give them some advice.
How about you on the North Dakota side?
There's a handful of counties in North Dakota that do weight enforcement themselves. But we assist those because we have troopers that specifically do that day in and day out. All of our troopers are trained in that as well. There's quite a few counties in North Dakota that send us a letter every year asking us either, number one, to help during load restriction timeframes, which is the time frame we're in right now, or year-round with weight enforcement on their county roads. And so we're out there enforcing that, whether it's a state highway, a federal highway, or a county road. Our agency, for the most part, can be anywhere in the state, and we'll be taking that enforcement action. And I believe it's a deterrent. You want to
know how you know it's a deterrent? Because I'm sitting one night at the Antelope Creek Bar in Morton having a beer with my friend, and a buddy comes in, and he got weighed by a county mountie. He got weighed, and he came in there, and he goes, hey, you guys, get word out, and I think that was kind of the goal, that my friend was doing a good thing for other guys, saying, hey, you don't go overweight. The other guys were like, whew, and whatever that one stop was got word out to a lot of people.
Yeah, I think, it is a deterrent. Whether, we talk about whether it's a traffic stop, we're doing weight enforcement, we're checking permits, we're out there doing highway assist, we're investigating crashes. I think anytime you see a patrol car stop with somebody on the side of the road, it is a deterrent for other people that are in the area.
I just want to go on record. My buddy didn't get dinged. So, he probably is listening going, I was there. I know. Rod.
Yeah, we really appreciate those people that are trying to be legal. And we do give some leeway in those cases. So, you know what? We really appreciate those people that are trying to be legal.
Rodney, you're on News and Views. Go ahead.
If you have a Pioneer license plate on your vehicle, are you allowed to use that every day of the week, or is that for limited use only?
That's a great question. I know the answer, but it's a great question.
Off the top of my head, I believe you can use a Pioneer plate everyday use.
Well, the Pioneer plate is based upon the number of years old the vehicle is.
It is. It's based off of age. We have an antique motor vehicle. We have a Pioneer plate. We also have, I'm trying to think the other name, there's another one as well that's all based off of years. And a couple of them you can only use for driving to and from car shows.
And I might be wrong about this, but I think the Pioneer plate is a one and done. I think that the theory is you've paid enough into licensing that vehicle. You got your Pioneer plate. We won't even send you notice anymore. But all right, let's go find the tall man, Too Tall Tom Szymanski, and get a weather forecast from him. 866. The Eye Consultants of North Dakota Text Club is 35270. We've got Captain Brian Niewind here with the North Dakota Highway Patrol and Sergeant Jesse Grable with the Minnesota State Patrol. They're taking your comments, your questions, your everything. I just want to throw this one out there. It said, Joel, I operate a haystack mover truck. I have my annual permits to operate, and I'm required to have flashing lights front and rear on the truck because of how wide it is. Rarely anyone slows down and pulls over except a trooper down by Napoleon who saw me and my lights and pulled off a few times that I came by. That's a shout out to him. I appreciate his professionalism. There you go.
Great news.
There. Isn't it nice when you get, hey, good job, you guys.
Yeah.
There you go. Another one. I got stopped one time 2,000 pounds over, and I got my, let's just say, butt chewed out, but never got a ticket. As I was stopped, a farmer went by me with a proto-till Degelman. Big piece of farm equipment, let's say this, on axle, and the machine weighs 35,420 pounds, which tells you he looked it up. Who's wrecking the road? Just a question.
And egg equipment in North Dakota is exempt from our weight laws.
How about Minnesota?
Minnesota, there's some exemptions also.
Okay. So you don't have the call to say.
We can't stop it and weigh it, so it's specifically exempted in law.
I wish there was some way that they could look at how much damage overweight vehicles do in the spring when the frost comes up.
I mean, you could take a look at when oil field was going hot and heavy in those roads out in the western North Dakota, when we had a ton of overweight vehicles driving during the spring and all summer long. It didn't matter. You saw what the road conditions are when you have a lot of overweight vehicles driving on the roadways. That happened in western North Dakota. It was a perfect example of
Just
that.
tore everything
to hell.
Yeah. So, I mean, you got to keep that in mind, folks, because you're going to pay for it. I mean, you really are. Guys, when it comes to this time of year, I always start thinking about new drivers out there. You know, I don't know why. It just seems like, for me, the spring, early summer of the year is when the Vern Whelans of the world kicked in with driver's ed. I mean,
there's a lot of drivers ed going right now. I'm going around schools talking to them, so you're right.
Okay, is that something a guy should really be looking out for as we end the school year and go into the summer months?
I think so, because I think a number of folks, even the kids that maybe got their permits last year, they maybe didn't drive a whole lot over the winter with their folks if they're doing the behind the wheel portion stuff, but now they're getting the new driver's license and they're finally getting out there, so, and be aware of that. So yeah, there's going to be a lot more new drivers on the road behind the wheel, whatever it may be.
Yeah, there's driver schools going on year round, like the commercial driver schools, but a lot of the schools do the stuff over the summer, so you're going to see more of that this summer.
Here's my bias. You grow up like I did in a very rural area. Everybody was driving before they ever got their driver's license, even their permit, and so then you get into certain areas where you see that vehicle that's teaching somebody how to drive. In more of a metro area, I stay clear of those. I'm way more. I don't know if you guys see that, or if that's just my bias because of where I live, but I'll leave that one alone. It says, my husband is a volunteer fireman, and he thinks you guys are the best. Boy, love's in the air today, guys.
We appreciate that. We appreciate all those volunteers out there because whether it's an ambulance service, it's our fire departments, they are always the first ones on scene at these bad crashes when we get in our rural areas. And without their assistance, we would have a lot more work on our hands when we get on scene. And it allows us to get on scene and do the investigation while other people are dealing with the injuries that might be involved in those cases or fires.
I was visiting last week with Sheriff Empting over in Clay County, and we were talking about the agreements between North Dakota and Minnesota. Are we doing better there in terms of law enforcement being able to cross that bridge?
There's always talks and things like that, and that's a thing that's got to take constant communication.
Right. Minnesota needs to get it straight. They do, because I know the North Dakota guys want to help. Okay, a couple of seconds left. Sergeant, what do you want to tell people?
Well, it looks like winter's back, and with that being said, though, I mean, obviously the slush is out there, but now ramps are just outside of the Moorhead are starting to get icy with that blow ice things. The winds are starting to pick up, so even though that slush might be coming off the road, you're probably going to be dealing with ice, blow ice, things like that yet today. So keep the cruise control off. Don't outdrive your common sense.
Captain,
you're going to see the same thing in North Dakota. We also, in April here, we have our distracted driving enforcement month, so you're going to see individuals out there working, and we're going to be trying to target those distracted driving violations.
Okay, there's your fair warning. Guys, I want to thank you. I think it was a good day to have you in here because, it's on a lot of people's minds right now. When we come back, we're going to go a little national right after this. She's a federal judge. She's been approved by the United States Senate before, and she has been appointed to the Supreme Court by President Joe Biden. And so she's been in a number of hearings, or I should say a hearing with the Senate Judiciary Committee dealing with a number of questions. That's done. Now the people are coming out for or against. Susan Collins today from Maine coming out, Republican, saying, I'm in. I'll vote for her. I don't know how many other Republicans are. I know that former governor and now Senator Rounds out of South Dakota heaped some praise on his visit with her. I think train's leaving the town, despite what was some absolutely ridiculous questions that came about. Now, I want to. Do you have the sound of Ted Cruz? I need to hear.
Yeah,
this.
it's a few different senators, but
okay.
Yes, he's included.
Well,
in this
because
one.
I know that we talked about Marsha Blackburn from Tennessee, and also Tom Cotton. I think Tom Cotton's from Arkansas. But you've got to hear some of these questions.
I'm an Hispanic man. Could I decide I was an Asian man?
Can you provide a definition for the word woman?
46% of all murders go unsolved. Should we catch more of those murderers, or should we catch fewer of them?
Do you agree with this book that is being taught with kids that babies are racist?
I mean,
all good questions for a justice.
there was one that repulsed me. Those are just idiotic Ted Cruz questions, and those are that gotcha. I hope they kind of. But there was one that I just found disgusting. And I shouldn't have to put a precursor. If you listen to News and Views, you would know my religion and you'd know my faith. But that's mine. That's mine. It's my business. Those founding fathers who could have got shot for signing that Declaration of Independence that later on worked so hard on the United States Constitution and the rules that this nation is going to live by and the democracy that we hope stands forever. Those individuals made it perfectly clear that this country was going to have freedom of religion. It wasn't going to be the Church of England. It wasn't going to be the Catholic Church. It wasn't going to be the Lutheran Church. It wasn't going to be the Quakers. We can go down the list. It was going to be what you chose. No one was going to tell you where you had to go to church. In fact, I've been listening to, and there's a documentary going to be done by Ken Burns. It is done. It's going to be playing soon on PBS about Ben Franklin. Now, Ben Franklin, bigger than life, personality, all of that. Ben Franklin, one of the reasons that we won the Revolutionary War because of what he was able to accomplish with the French, what he was able to accomplish by having their ships offshore. I mean, don't forget, there's all kinds of ways to win a war, and Ben Franklin played a major role in that. Ben Franklin donated money to all the startups that you can in Philadelphia for different denominations and congregations. He gave money to the synagogue there. Think about that. Founding father, not sitting there saying, my religion is the best, okay? My religion is the one. And if you're not from my religion, if you aren't from my beliefs, if you don't share exactly what I share, then you're not good as an American. Because that's what Lindsey Graham, that's the message he sent at the hearing when he asked Judge Brown Jackson whether or not, and he asked her on a scale of 1 to 10, how would she rank herself as a Christian? How would she rank herself as a Christian? This woman, once she gets on the Supreme Court, and she will get on the Supreme Court, is going to preside over all types of things that involve religion. If they're Muslim, is she supposed to look at it in a different way? I mean, when she looks at Islam, when she looks at Judaism, when she looks at any of these religions, when she looks at if she's Baptist, is she supposed to hate us Catholics? I don't know what Lindsey Graham was looking at. I just know this, that for him to ask that question to a sworn-in candidate who was sworn to uphold the Constitution of the United States of America, he didn't uphold the Constitution of the United States of America and the charge of his job. He didn't. Now, Senator John Kennedy asked the judge if she believes the efforts are there to pack the Supreme Court. Take a listen to this.
Well, the calls to pack the court don't legitimize the court, do they?
Well, Senator, I think that would be for you to decide.
I'm asking your opinion.
Respectfully, Senator, I'm not in a position to give my opinion on issues that are policy issues concerning the court, and not something that a judge would have to consider or should consider, in my view.
Yeah, but you're a citizen.
Oh, I am.
And as best I can tell, a very good one. I don't understand why you won't weigh in on this issue. Tell me why you won't weigh in on this issue.
Senator, I feel so strongly about ensuring that judges remain out of political debates.
Right? That the Supreme Court, the number on the Supreme Court isn't determined by the Supreme Court. It isn't determined by them. It's determined by, and it can be determined by the legislative branch of government once signed upon by the executive branch of government. It can be, changed by, and this happened before. I remember that. I remember the discussion they had I don't remember it as though I was alive, but I remember reading about and hearing about the discussion they had during the FDR administration when he was worried about whether or not he could get things through the Supreme Court. I remember just recently when the Democrats said, after they have seen a generation hit the Supreme Court where the progressives on the Supreme Court are going to be in the minority for the rest of my lifetime, I've seen the Democrats now talk about adding to the Supreme Court. I didn't agree with that. I'll never agree with that. But the difference between me and Judge Brown Jackson is she's going to be on the court. She can't say that. There's an ethic there. She's ethical. This is a woman that clearly is suited for the Supreme Court, and more Republicans are coming out now in favor of it. Now, I'm going to just say this. For those of you that are mad because Joe Biden came out and said, I'm going to find a well-qualified, distinguished black woman and put her on the Supreme Court. There will be a black woman on that Supreme Court. For those of you mad at that, 1-800-GET-OVER-IT. I mean, he told you it during the campaign, number one. Number two, he's right. He's right. There was a group of black women out there that are fully qualified and would have made excellent justices on the Supreme Court. Now, that being said, should you ever sit there and say, well, this one's got to be a woman? Well, you know what? There hasn't been a black woman on the Supreme Court. It was time for a black woman to be on the Supreme Court, right? I mean, I remember when Sandra Day O'Connor, I believe it was Ronald Reagan that put Judge O'Connor on the Supreme Court. I remember what a big deal that was. I remember what a really big deal it was to have that woman on the Supreme Court. Now, I'm going to just say this to you folks out there and get your take on it, after the break here. But there are things that government does that break through barriers that then certainly can cause trouble. I mean, there are all the anti-black individuals were out there just voicing their hatred for when Barack Obama got to be president of the United States as a black man. I saw it. I got it. Now, that wasn't everybody who opposed Barack Obama. I'm not calling you all racist. That isn't what I'm doing. But what I'm telling you is that lying underbelly of individuals that would walk through fire to make sure that a black man never could be president came out. They showed themselves during that time, right? So here you sit now with a black woman on a court being able to express her view. That doesn't mean she's going to rule the way you want all the time or the way I want all the time. But what I'm hearing and seeing during these hearings is she's ethical. She understands the separation between the ethics that come with this job, the requirements of it, but the separation between the branches of government. Okay? Clarence Thomas doesn't. He doesn't. He doesn't care about ethics. Clarence Thomas should have recused himself. Now, if you're going to say, how did he know that his wife was out there trying to be part of and having a conversation about the overthrow of an election? I mean, the insurrection, everything that went along with that. He was the lone dissenting voter to not follow the rule of law and say that documents had to be turned over to the January 6th committee. Now, you know how conservative that court is. The other 5 very conservative members of that court said, no, this is what the law says. You got to do it. And Clarence Thomas, and this is my belief now, Clarence Thomas, because he knew there was information that showed what his wife was doing, he didn't want that information going out. And because she has the ability every night to look at him, every morning to look at him, say, hey, you're going to work today. You know what you should do? But don't kid yourself. That's happening. And it also shows what insider trading all of D.C. is. And I want to get to that when I get back. But first, I got to get to the weatherman who's got a lot of news for you today. Tom? Accuse himself. I'm not calling for his removal from the court. Heck, he's given a lot of reasons for that, but he was appointed to the court, and it's a lifetime appointment. And I don't agree with that with any Democrat or Republican on that court. But he needs to recuse himself. Now, what it really shows is something that many Republican friends of mine constantly are pounding me on. And I thought of them in regards to this. I thought, this is a perfect example of where they're right. And where I don't acknowledge enough that they're right. So let me take a swipe at this. Washington is such an insider game. It really is. I mean, we've got over 300 million people in this country. And yet we've got a wife of a Supreme Court justice with the cell phone of the chief of staff in the White House. Now that's insider. That's as inside as you can get. She's one cell phone away from speaking to the President of the United States and making sure that he knows that she, who is the wife of a Supreme Court justice, believes A, B, and C. Now, this might be on the right side, but on the left side, there are plenty of examples of that as well. There are. I mean, you can look at all types of, you call them power couples, call them whatever you want. Now, it's a little bit different in the Supreme Court because, you don't get to question Clarence Thomas. He chooses whether or not to answer a question, but it isn't like they're certainly not as accountable. Well, they're not accountable. They get a lifetime appointment on the Supreme Court and they're accountable to no one. He knew what he was doing. And if he didn't know what he's doing, then he's past the point of where he should be a judge. But he knew that he was stepping over the line of ethics and conflict of interest. And so this is all insider baseball, insider trading. And for you folks that are constantly saying that's why Washington needs to be shook up, that's why we need new faces, that's why we need term limits, Joel, I think your point was made very well here. I really do. I mean, you've got Clarence Thomas with a lifetime appointment whose wife is out there politicking and then his wife is ruling on it. That's insider baseball. That's terrible insider baseball. You've got a president of the United States that appoints his kids to high-ranking positions to run the government. That's insider baseball. You've got a former president of the United States that appoints his brother attorney general. That was insider baseball. That was. I'll get your take on it when we come back. This message comes in to our eye consultants of North Dakota Text Club. Says, Joel, speaking of insider trading and government overbloat, 6 of the 10 wealthiest countries in the U.S. are around D.C. That should raise some eyebrows. Heck, you guys, take a look at who serves in the United States Senate and what their wealth is. I think you'd see quite well exactly how much money they have. Abby, you should serve in the Senate.
I would need to raise a little bit.
Just a little bit?
Yeah.
Bring it up to, all right. Let's get to Steve. Steve, you're on News and Views.
Hey, Joel, I wanted to know your opinion of Joe Biden's cognitive state. I mean, I've just never heard anything or ever an opinion or reporting or anything on the multiple gaps, the inability to take press questions and without notes, or pre-scanning the questions, or I mean, the 82nd Airborne's going to Ukraine. Putin should be taken out. You know, is Joe Biden? He didn't pick this new nominee. Who's running the White House? Because it isn't Joe Biden.
Well, Steve, let me ask you this, because you've made up your mind on his cognitive state. When people have put the big test, saying that he won't live up to the test, I think he's delivered one heck of a speech. I wondered when I first heard about the speech, you know, in regards to Putin being removed from office, I wondered if it wasn't strategic. I would never have walked it back, Steve. I wouldn't have. There was nothing he said there that would have made me think that we just got into World War III because of it, right? And,
is that the same reporting you would have given Donald Trump?
Yes.
There seems to be a heck of a double standard here. Joe Biden's gaffes are completely off the wall.
I'll tell you, Steve, where I would have been critical of Donald Trump, though, is his relationship with Putin, and today being a perfect example. Did you see the news yesterday where Donald Trump called on Vladimir Putin for a favor to do him when it comes to politics and Hunter Biden? I mean, so we've got a man going around tearing a country to shreds, killing innocent people, sending bombs at pregnant women in hospitals. And Donald Trump's strongest message he sends last night is that it's time for Vladimir Putin to release information in regards to Hunter Biden. Did you see it? Now, I would call that a gaffe.
Real?
I would call that a gaffe.
Biden's laptop's real.
I would call that okay, Steve. I'll answer a question if you answer a question. Okay, answer me this: is that the biggest concern this country has in regards to Vladimir Putin right now?
The free and fair elections.
Is that the biggest concern we have about Vladimir Putin right now?
Oh, about Vladimir Putin? No.
There. Thank you, Steve. Appreciate it. Let's get to Fred. Fred, you're on News and Views.
Okay, Joel, can I take a swing at that question you asked him? Because I can definitely answer that.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, that is definitely the biggest concern we have as a country. What does Putin have on Hunter Biden / Joe Biden? Because
what does Putin have on Donald Trump?
I'm not. Let's just stay with you asked the question. Hunter Biden, when he gets millions of dollars from the mayor of Moscow's wife, what the heck was that for? All right, but that wasn't the question that I asked for. So, do you want to get out of this, or do you want to answer that?
Well, I mean, I get a chance to push back on that. Right? I mean, you want to talk about millions of dollars that came out of Russia. You want to talk about Russian financial interests. You want to talk about family that outsourced to Russia. Hold on, Fred. You brought it up and you said, "Can we have that discussion?" I'm telling you, yes. If you want to look at somebody that personally profited from Russia and personally benefited from Russia, you don't need to look at the Bidens. You need to look at the Trumps, Fred.
How about both?
Well,
why don't we just look at both?
That's fair.
That's the biggest problem we've got. But Trump isn't in the White House now. Well, let's just admit that Joe Biden is, and if his kids,
what you want me to admit is something that you folks who are in love with Donald Trump won't admit, which is that he lost the election. Would you admit that he lost the election?
Question that I wanted to talk about now.
Well, yeah, because the questions got tough to you now, so you want to sing. Go ahead.
No, hell no, it hasn't.
Go ahead, Fred. Go ahead.
All right. The selective service, 18-year-old males, have got to register with Selective Services by law, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Is it just men yet, Fred, or do women have to too now?
Nope, just men.
Okay, I didn't know the rules.
Yep. Of somebody who's got sons and daughters. But now Leah/Will Thomas does that means the Selective Service doesn't apply anymore to Leah Thomas?
I guess I don't know what you're getting at, Fred.
Now, okay, if a draft is enacted, let's just say that. But some people just don't do it because they don't get around to it, and then they're not eligible for government student loans and, this government office or that. But so that makes there is pushback if you're a male and did not register. But if you're a female and did not register, that doesn't apply. In fact, I don't believe you can register if you're a female even for Selective Services.
Okay. I've said many times I think females should have to register for Selective Services. But yeah, go ahead.
Okay, but the way the law is, they do differentiate.
Yeah.
Okay, does Chaz Bono have to register when Chaz Bono crossed over, to the other side?
Well, in that particular case, Chaz Bono made a move, and I think it was even surgical to become a man, right?
Okay, yes, but biologically, does Chaz Bono have an X and Y chromosome?
Here's okay. You know the answer to it, so you're asking something that
I know the answer to X and Y chromosome.
Yeah.
I want to know whether, because the Selective Services, this is going to matter. People are going to.
But Fred,
what's going to happen when you don't agree with the war, or you're just a flat out right don't want to go? So then we've got a whole army full of cleaners.
Fred, you're looking for a problem that isn't there. That's what you're looking for.
Not yet, but again,
Fred,
what's it going to happen?
You're looking for a problem that isn't there. I mean,
you don't want to answer it, do you?
No, here's my answer. Number one, I'm not going to sit there and persecute someone that believes that they're a man when they're a woman. Okay? Because their life is already hard. Hold on, Fred. You asked me to answer it. Their life is already hard enough. They have been ostracized. They have been picked on in school. They've been suicidal when you look at the rate. There are people out there that do not, when they see themselves as the gender that they were born. They don't. And the Chaz Bonos of the world go through great steps to change that. Now, that is such a small, minuscule number that you're creating a problem where there isn't a problem, Fred.
But that's okay. But the point is, I'm not even saying about what they've got to go through emotionally or whatnot. Beside the point, that isn't even. I'm not even talking about just the simple Selective Service. So now, if my 18-year-old son says, you know what, I'm now your 18-year-old daughter, I don't have to register with Selective Service.
And you think there's going to be that?
It can happen. Why couldn't it?
Oh, Fred, they can run to Canada, too.
It wasn't going to happen that you were going to have freaking trans taking away scholarships and whatnot from
how many times
naturally born. That wasn't going to happen. We were
okay. I mean, we can sit there and scream at each other all we want. Here's the thing: you can make their life a living hell. You can go do what you want to do. Go make it worse than in many cases it already is. Do that same thing to people that are gay. I mean, do that same. If you go looking for a problem, you're going to find it. You're going to find it. Now, is this a problem when it comes to Selective Service? I mean, come on. Can we just take a step back and grab the first 80 high school boys that we can find and say, all right, the government calls you. We need you. You're going to get called into service. You signed up for Selective Service, and there's going to be a draft. How many of those do you think are going to say, no, I'm not going. I'm a woman. I'm a woman. Today, I'm a woman. I mean, you're looking for a problem that isn't there. If you want to look at something that you can work on in the name of good and decency, try to help the individual that's struggling with their sexuality to get through life without being ostracized or drugged through society. Because they've been dealt the toughest hand you can possibly be dealt. They have been dealt a hand that in many of their cases is unlivable. If you look at one of the highest suicide rates, you're going to find it in transgender individuals. Now, I remember really well, and I think it was in Colorado, a family that was very conservative, diehard conservative, gave money to, was active in Republican campaigns, and they had a trans child. And they came out as the legislature, the conservatives in the legislature, were going about doing everything they could to make their son's life terrible. Abby gave me the look like, if you cuss one more time, I'm going to hit the button. Terrible. That's what they were going to do. And this father and mother had the courage to sit there, look into those cameras, speak to that committee and say, you don't understand. You don't get our life. You don't know what our child is faced with. You don't understand our child. And so you can turn it into a debate on my daughter didn't get to play because that's really a boy over there. You can turn it into a debate about people screaming and hollering when the draft comes around that today I'm a woman. You can turn it into a debate as though they don't ever get to go to a bathroom in a place where they're comfortable getting to go into the bathroom. You can turn it into a debate about clothes. You can turn it into a debate about hair and piercings and all of this. But what you can't, if you have any semblance of decency, what you can't do is ignore the fact that these kids' life is way harder than yours. And they're not doing it. They're not, short of one little exception here or there probably, they are not doing it for the motivations that are being talked about here. All right, let's get to the weather cave and find Too Tall Tom. Tom? Put that stuff away. All right, let's get back to work and get to Herb. Herb, you're on News and Views.
Yeah, a couple of questions. You talked about Hunter Biden earlier. Why is it that the Democrats, and you included, will not admit that Hunter Biden's laptop is real, that there is enough evidence on that laptop and all the other information to indict him and the president and be impeached? New York Times came out finally and said, yes, the laptop is real, and yet when you will say that Trump is guilty of collusion with Russia when they spent 4 years trying to pin that on him and they came up with nothing. And neither one of those topics anybody will touch on the left side.
How do you know? And I'm full investigation of Hunter Biden. If there's a there, but how do you know that he's guilty, Herb?
There's a laptop with video and
you've
papers
seen this
and everything, and it's loaded with incriminating evidence.
And you've
That's
seen
all
this,
I know.
or is it just the Trump people saying that that's there?
New York Times says it's there.
And New York Times is saying that it's incriminating and that Hunter Biden used his dad and his dad basically bought this whole thing off. Is that what you're saying? Because I subscribe to the New York Times. I can find out whether or not Hunter Biden corrupted his dad, and the New York Times is saying that.
I'm saying there's enough there for a special prosecutor or a grand jury to at least look at it.
Okay,
Nobody will.
Can I ask you this? If Hunter Biden had such a close relationship with Russia, why are we saying...
It's not a if. You don't have to say hypothetical.
Okay. I'll just agree with you for just debate's sake with the 30 seconds I have left. Then how in the world do we get to the point where Joe Biden's in trouble calling for the removal of Vladimir Putin?
Well, that is not regime change has never been our policy, and he just said it was. He doesn't.
But if he's in cahoots with him, Herb, if he's in cahoots with him, and he's looking out for him, and they've got this special deal going on, why would that be what we're talking about? Why would he put all these economic sanctions on him?
Well, that changed because he invaded and has been shooting bombs into it. But that still doesn't change the fact that these things happen. And if these things happened to Donald Trump, you would have about the 10th impeachment.
Herb, the clock's got me, but call in tomorrow. It's been a good conversation. Good riding with you, folks.